What's up, everyone? My name is Robert, and today I'm joined with a sophisticated man. How's it going, buddy?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me on again, man.
No, it's always a blast, man. I like the discussions and the topics we cover, and I think we bring a lot of value to our, people who come and watch this show, and we always have some interesting topics, and we always, when we talk about stuff, we always kind of get sidetracked into other things, which is kind of good. It's like being spontaneous, which is
hmm
nice.
Heck yeah. Got a lot of tangents, but I think it all kind of makes sense, and we're always giving value in some way.
hmm Exactly. So today we just want to talk to you guys about like don't believe what you see in the media. Like we brought this, I think we were talking about this topic when we went on our tangent, like in our last thing. We're
hmm
talking about how guys tend to, imitate like what they see in the media when it comes to like picking up women or being in a relationship with a woman, and when they do that, that turns a girl off, and it also takes the guy away from his true, authentic self.
hmm
And I totally like agree with this topic because like I was that guy at one point in my life. I watched a lot of romance and Hollywood movies. I got caught up in all the BS, and yeah, I thought that's how you had to behave towards a woman. And
hmm
I realized I was quite an idiot for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all been duped at some point. I kind of had a very similar experience growing up. I watched a ton of movies. Like I'm a big movie buff, even to this day. I watch a ton of movies, but back then, all the like family friendly, like child movies that I used to watch, they didn't have the greatest, I think, analysis of what a real relationship should look like or how a man needs to show up in that relationship. It was very much like happy go lucky, kind of feel good type of movies to make you think, oh, if you just, you chase women to the end of the earth, they're eventually going to fall in love with you. And there's one woman out there for you, and it's your soulmate. And that's the one person, and no one will ever come close to them. It's like a lot of these themes are present in movies like that. And again, it sounds cool. And like when you're a kid, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But,
Hmm.
when you kind of grow up and realize like that's not really how real life works.
Right. And when we realize that, like, we're kind of lost because we're like, well, hey, I was imitating what I saw on TV. And I'm like, what? And we get disappointed. Like, I remember I got frustrated. I remember, like, there's this girl I had a crush on in high school and everything. And I was really into, like, poetry and shit all the time. And so I was, like, doing a lot of writing. So I actually was so afraid to, like, um, express myself to this girl. I actually wrote a letter.
Mhm.
Thinking that like this would help win the girl over when really
Right.
it just kind of was a big turnoff. And like you know for a while it took me a while to break out. I don't know, probably a long time, that this is high school, but all the way up until like my 30s, to break out of that cycle because I
Mhm.
wanted to believe the dream that like I saw on television. And I
Right.
believed, like, because I was brainwashed about that's what I was told to do. Like that's what I thought because I really had no experience in that area.
Mhm.
And when I became more awake, and kind of got, worked on myself and went out there and got into the real world and got experience, I realized that, hey, this isn't how it goes. This
Right.
is totally different from what you would see in the media. Like life, real life is different. And you know what? The weird thing is, I've seen a lot of guys have the same problem. They kind of get caught
Mhm.
up in that trap, and they don't know what to do, and they end up. I mean, they can end up in a relationship, but it's always toxic for them because, like, I've seen them get, mentally abused by the woman they were with, and when they thought they were doing something nice. I remember one time he's like, "Oh, I spent all this money on this girl. I got her some flowers and stuff."
Mhm.
And he's a very sweet guy. And like I remember this one. He was almost engaged to this girl, and the girl like left him, and so he gave her access to her, like, his bank account, and
Oh
this girl
man.
like stole his entire um inheritance that he got.
Jeez. That's brutal. That's brutal. And I think the biggest reason, you bring up that point of like if you don't have a lot of experience in your real life and you don't know exactly how to show up how to, convey confidence, how to really be a man in the relationship, then you're going to just go to those reference experiences because that's all you have. Like, well, I saw it in a movie and it worked on screen. Like, maybe it works in real life. And that was kind of
Mhm.
the same mindset, that I had growing up too. It's funny because you mentioned the flower thing. My buddy did the same thing. Like, he he wasn't even dating this girl at the time. Actually, he was like starting to maybe hung out like one or two times, and he bought a bouquet of flowers, put it in her car before she was like getting out of school or whatever, and her car was
Mhm.
unlocked, and I guess he put it in there for her, and she ends up, going finding it at one point. And she's like really flattered in the moment, but also kind of turned off because she's like, well, I just met this guy and we just started talking. He's already showing me like all this affection. He's buying me gifts. He's doing all these things. Ultimately, it turned her off. And, I think after a week, they like stopped talking to each other. But it's that,
Mhm.
it's that pursuit. And like, you think you need to do too much to like make the girl like you, and impress her when, usually just comes off as needy.
Mhm. Right, and that's the big lie, and, like, I don't a lot of people have to be aware when they're doing that because, like, I see a lot of people fall into traps like that. We both fell into that
Mhm.
situation, and I think a lot of I don't know, like, why do you think people get caught up in that lie that they see on television? Do you think it's what I'm saying is true because of the lack of experience or
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of it has to do, I think, with lack of experience, and I think even not really like getting shown that, I think, in your own life or having a mentor or a coach or someone, even a friend to kind of show you the ropes in your own life to be like, hey, don't talk to a girl like this, or like, this is how you display confidence. This is how you ask a
Mhm.
girl out. Like, if you don't even have that, some type of support system or, someone in your corner to really kind of guide you through that, that's even harder because then you're basically learning this stuff all on your own, which is pretty much what I had to do. I didn't really have someone to be like, "Hey, man, this is the way to do it," or "This is this." And I had friends that were like naturally really good with women, but
Mhm.
it was hard for me to replicate because I didn't know exactly like what they were doing right. I just saw them get results. Um,
Mhm.
but it's sometimes hard for guys like that to give good guidance because sometimes they don't even know.
Mhm. Right, no, that's true, like I don't know, like, I think too, a lot of it just like, I think we need to have that guidance because we don't have that guidance, we can be led the wrong way, you know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like, 'cause I mean, we're used to seeing, his what we see on TV and seeing that's reality if we don't have the experience, to actually with women or dating and stuff like that, I think that's where we get lost.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you just watch the TV and, kind of see all your examples from YouTube videos or movies and stuff like that, that's really all you have as reference, and you're gonna go
Mhm.
to that and think, "Oh, well, if I do this, it's gonna give me the same result that I see on screen."
Right, exactly. And I don't know, I think a lot of that too has to do, like, with a lack of awareness of self, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
because, like, you don't know who you are and you're looking for other references,
Mhm.
to see how you wanna go about, actually living your life or creating your reality.
Mhm.
And, like, I think until you can actually kind of have that sense of self and, kind of realize that, hey, what you see on the television screen is totally I mean, television or movies is just a fantasy that is, created, to entertain people and not
Mhm.
actually what real life is. Like, I mean, you're just gonna like, I know you're just gonna you got get lost, and I think you got to just break away from that and kind of, I don't know, just find some way to get experience because like that's a
Mhm.
bad habit to have.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like you bring up another great point of, lack of identity, I think is huge. Like when you don't know exactly who you are as a man and the things that you stand for, your values, jokes that you find funny, things that you're interested in, like hobbies that you like to do or just the way that you carry yourself. If you don't know those things, then it's like you said, you're gonna imitate what you see on TV
Hmm.
or what you see in the movies because you think, "Okay, this is what a confident guy looks like." maybe if I say this exact thing he says, then I can get this girl or whatever. And people know like when you're not being authentic, and they know you're just putting on an act. And usually that's what
Mhm.
happens. And like guys try to be like super alpha, and they think, oh, if I just say this, then people will respect me, or if I say this, then people will give me this result. And if it comes from a place of incongruence with who you really are, people are going to pick up on that.
Right, exactly. Another thing I was gonna add to that too is, like, kind of having adopting some of the attitudes of
Hmm.
the people they see, and then, like, a lot of guys will think they gotta dress a certain way just to
Right.
impress a girl.
Hmm.
And I remember, like, I was watching, I was when I was kind of in high school, early college years and stuff, I kind of looked through the reference of, like, some of the movie stars, like, how I'm gonna do with my style, because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, cool, this is gonna get me the girl and everything," and, that isn't how it goes.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like I would look at kind of the same thing. Like I would see like different celebrities that were dressing well, or just like I really looked up to them, and I thought, okay, how do I imitate their style, or kind of take pieces from their, their approach to life? How do I kind of show up in the same way? And in the beginning, that's kind of like a default for a lot of people, is like if you don't have your own sense of style, self, whatever you want to call it, established, you don't have that foundation. First thing you're going to do is imitate. And it
Mhm.
could be from anybody, it could be from anything that you find inspiration from. But it's important to understand that sometimes that can be dangerous because you're getting away from, who you really are.
Mhm. And what do you think, like, people had to do to get started on that? Like, do they have to,
Mhm.
like, because I mean, it's everywhere, and
Sure.
you see it on the, like, the, social media apps, you see it on TV, the movies, the music, and everything. I mean, people kind of, like, it's everywhere.
Hmm.
Ads everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely everywhere, man. I mean, you're right. Like it's in social media, it's on TV, it's even in the music sometimes that you listen to. So like it really is kind of all over the place. And the biggest thing I would say is to really try to separate yourself as much as possible. Like that's why I always preach, being alone, and like really getting comfortable with being by yourself, and kind of learning a lot about who you really are. Because
Mhm.
when you constantly have that stimulation, and you have, music kind of telling you one thing, or you have TV telling you one thing, you have movies showing you certain things, you're gonna start to think that way, and you're gonna start to behave that way, because if that's all you consume, then that's basically you're gonna imitate that. You're gonna show, oh, this is how I think, when really it's just put there from, some kind of media. So I think the biggest thing is just to get comfortable being by yourself enough to really start to form your own opinions, start to form your own thoughts. And like you said, just get experience, do
Mhm.
things that you find scary, or like approach that girl, or like apply for that position, ask your boss for a raise, like do things that you genuinely want to do, and just keep leaning into that.
So you're otherwise you're saying just kind of, like, do stuff that you want to do for yourself, and don't be afraid to, go out there and take the action to do it. Because and when
Hmm.
you and then you're saying too, by keeping, being to yourself and everything, and getting away from that stimulation, that's going to help you focus more on understanding who you are as a person, than building
Hmm.
yourself up as the real guy, rather
Hmm.
than imitating what you come across, on, what you see on the media and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like I think the problem with, and it's not just men, it's really everybody, because of,
Yeah.
media is so popular, and like this stuff is everywhere, like you said. I think what people try to do is they want to take the external and try to make that kind of like form the internal, when really it's the opposite. Like you work from the inside out. Like that's just kind of how human beings work. I mean, if you work on yourself internally, and you want to be a certain, let's say you want to be the most confident version of yourself, that starts from the inside out. Like how do you change that? You have to work on, all right, who am I really? Who do I want to be? What are the things in life that I want to pursue? What makes me happy? What makes me fulfilled? What makes me feel good about myself? And work on those things, instead of trying to be like, oh, let me take from someone else, or let me take from the outside to try to make me feel better. I believe it starts from the inside, and then that gets expressed to the outside world.
Right. No, exactly. Because when you kind of like work on your inner world, you're going to project that more like in the outer world and
Right.
everything. And that's what we
Mhm.
have to do. We have to kind of be aware when that's external stimulus is becoming like too much, or
Mhm.
just kind of clouding our judgment or clouding who we are as individuals. And once we can have that awareness, and like when we have that awareness, we take time to step back and kind of focus in on ourselves, figure out like what it is we got to build within ourselves, go out there and take the action to actually do that. And when you got to take the action and you change the mindsets like about your
Mhm.
inner self, that's going to project in the real world, and then it's kind of going to be your own reality.
Mhm. Yeah, totally, man. And one thing I thought of, like, as you were saying that, is sometimes the danger in taking too much stock in, like, media and stuff like that. You almost create your own limiting beliefs from that sometimes. Like, if you, let's say you watch a movie or you see a guy says a certain pickup line, or like he says something to a girl that doesn't work, but you've seen it work in real life in other ways, like, you're going to tell yourself in your mind, okay, that doesn't work. I can't say that. This isn't going to happen. Like, this is going to give me a bad result. And like, you almost limit yourself because you think you saw it in a movie and you saw it doesn't work, but you're creating that story in your head almost, that it's like it's this unattainable thing, or it's not realistic.
Right.
But like, did you actually try it though in real life? Like, did you put that towards application, and did that prove to you that it worked or it didn't work? Some people just like, they'll take it from media and assume that that's like kind of like the end all be all.
Right. No, that's true. Well, see, another thing too that I've come across too on my journey, not just with the whole romantic stuff, is just coming across
Hmm.
some of the, like, self development communities for guys out there. I
Yeah.
mean, and I've come across a lot of ones that have been really helpful, and then some that have like kind of hindrance my growth along the way
Mm-hmm.
because they had a different mindset about how they view the world around it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, who you spend time around, and the beliefs that that group has, or like whatever group that you're in, their beliefs tend to be your beliefs, and like whatever they kind of understand and subscribe to, that's usually what you're gonna kind of take on as well. So it's very important to like understand who you're consuming, what you're consuming, where you're consuming it from, because all that information and all that stuff is going to be a part of your subconscious if you watch enough of it.
Hmm. Right, that's where I got like stuck for a while because I'm
Hmm.
not going to go into like the community, but there's a certain community out there that you know cater more towards more. There's more like anger towards women and everything, and I started to project some of those mindsets and stuff like this. That you had to have this to have a woman, you had to do this, but
Hmm.
this is going to happen. And it kind of kept me, at the same time, even when I was working on becoming more confident and like going out there and making talking to girls, doing whatever, and because of what I heard, it kind of like made me like gave me a little bit of anxiety. And
Hmm.
it took me a couple of years to like, well, a year and a half, I should say, like, to realize that that this what I'm learning from this is not going to help me move forward, and this is why I'm having trouble moving forward.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a big problem too. A lot of guys are getting just bad advice, or just they're kind of getting led down a path of, like you said, anger, bitterness, just resentment, potentially in some cases, towards women. And like, it could be a very damaging way to view life, and a very, like, a limiting way to kind of view life as well. So like, yeah, it's important to be careful, to be aware and be careful of who you're getting information from, and kind of understanding, like, is their take on life something that's gonna, add value to my life, and it's gonna be positive? Is it gonna help me? Or do I feel like I'm a different person when I watch their content, or when I listen to them? Do I feel worse about myself, or do I feel better? Like, I think those are the kind of questions that I think we need to be asking, you know, and that's with anybody, like any content creator, any piece of content or any media. Is this benefiting me or is this actually making me worse? And I think that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Right, no, and that's true, and it was weird because, like, when I was kind of engaging in some of that content, like, I always felt, like, angry after that. I think it kind
Yeah.
of, already had this minor resentment because they know, like, most guys have, who are struggling to meet women, they always, instead of, focusing on themselves, they blame the girl for their problems with women, and really, they gotta focus on themselves.
Hmm.
And they have that little bit of resentment, and it just kind of like, after I go watch these videos or hear someone talk about this stuff, like I just got really frustrated, and like,
Hmm.
and like I'm really glad I had that awareness, because like because I was realizing, like, why am I so frustrated still? And I realized, oh, because I'm watching this stuff, and just having that awareness, and taking a step back, and I want to listen to content that's more about having a positive mindset, more about being authentic,
Hmm.
because that's who I want to be as a man. I want to be have the right mindset. I want to be who I am without having to like censor who I am, for someone else.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so important to watch content that promotes like the stuff you were talking about because it's really night and day when you see content that's like talking about, okay, shame women, hate women, start to resent women, or life is bleak and life is like crazy. Like I've seen some crazy stuff out there. I mean, there's you could do some digging and there's a lot of like negative types of content out there. I'm not gonna name any names, but there's a lot of stuff out there that is not good for your mental. So like it's crazy how wrapped up some guys can get in that though, and they dive in really really deep, and they end up being like they lose their sense of self and they lose kind of who they are as a person and as a man because of the
Right.
content that they watch,
And
and
it's
that's
funny,
dangerous.
it's funny you said that though, because like I
Hmm.
had some friends, no knockoff on them, they're cool people, but like whenever we'd hang out, they'd always use these content creation terms that these people would use,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep.
That like they're saying, well, you can't be pick up girls by being authentic and direct. That doesn't work. That's because you haven't taken time to explore who you are as a
Right.
guy and see it, kind of go through the trials and tribulations,
Hmm.
just putting yourself out there.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I mean, and so this is how reason another way how like media can really affect who you are as a person, not just with your romance life, or when it comes to talking to girls, but also like also when it comes to your mindset and changing, maybe
Hmm.
making you angry, like, and I really like what you said was really good. You really gotta, when you're watching some sort of content creator, you gotta figure out, okay, yeah, well, hey, do I feel good after listening to this person, or do I feel like crap?
Hmm.
Is this making me angry?
Right.
Because like if you don't have that awareness, you're gonna get stirred down the wrong path.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. And like I don't want guys to think what we're saying too, like just watch feel good fluffy content that like makes you feel
Right.
good about yourself. It's That's not it either. Like you gotta have a balance of things that are real, but it doesn't make you feel like shit after you watch it. Like it makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel good about yourself that like, oh yeah, I can do this. And like I can take that risk. It makes these things
Hmm.
seem realistic and feasible. Um,
Right. No, that's good. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree with you on that. Yeah, we're not talking about like, yeah, you got to feel handy dandy, but more something
right.
that's going to motivate you and inspire you and make you feel powerful to take action, go out there and try to make a difference in your life. Yeah, that's what
Hmm.
we're talking about here.
Exactly. Yeah, I think like sometimes guys get a weird idea of what positive content is, and they think it's just things that's gonna like gaslight me and make me fluffy and like sound good. But there's some really good stuff out there that it's about changing the I guess the way that you define what positive really means.
Right. Well, I mean, you were kind of on the same path a while ago. How did you determine what was right for you? Like, did you come across anything where you thought like was toxic, and you kind of got sidetracked a bit in your life?
Yeah, there was a point when I was watching this one creator, and at the time I'm not gonna say any names, but at the time he was
That's good.
a dating coach, or he claimed to be a dating coach. And I was like really wrapped up in his content. I was like, yo, I want to be like this guy. He's really confident. He seems, sure about himself, all these different things. And there was a point when I bought his courses. I kind of got into his whole thing, like I invested into his programs. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember feeling like after watching that stuff and after just like kind of watching video after video, like in the moment, I was like really juiced up and I was like, oh yeah, like hell yeah, let's go. But then when I was done, I was like, huh, I don't really, something doesn't sit well. Like it doesn't really feel like me. It was like this like hyper aggressive, very just like if you were to view like the most, um, like prototypical alpha guy, like that's kind of what this dude was portraying, like kind of like um how most creators kind of depict that. And it just never felt right with me. It never felt like that was really me, like I was like being myself. um and it took me a while to really get out of that because I was even portraying that in videos. Like I would show up in a video, be screaming at the camera, like getting super
Really?
aggressive. Yeah, like if you watch like some of my old videos, you'll see that in the video. Like I'm like super aggressive and like very in your face kind of content that I was making. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, after a while, I was like, this isn't even me. Like I don't even feel like myself. And it took me to realize that. It took a long time for me to understand, like, I'm not being my true self. I'm not being authentic. Like I wouldn't do that. And it took me a while to get out of that mindset. But I think the biggest thing that I did was just reflect on myself and really look at myself in the mirror and say, is this really the kind of guy I want to be moving forward? Is this the type of content that really resonates with me? Is this really a true expression of who I am?
Mm-hmm.
And I think once I kind of got clear with that stuff and understood there was a disconnect, that I really started to kind of be a little bit more authentic.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, that's cool. I think we kind of all get lost there on that journey,
Hmm.
like self development, because we're so want to, go out there and become more confident. Create this for ourselves, get good at talking to women, go start this business that we kind of check out. We go around just looking for other people, and some of them are very good at just sucking people in, and then
Oh yeah.
others are, other and then so we got to kind of watch out for that because if you get sucked into with the wrong person, like, or that can really throw you out your path for a bit. And I guess, like, I think, like you said, the best way to do that is just to kind of analyze what you heard from whoever it is, you're listening to. I mean, I always got into like I just watched a lot of pickup artist stuff back in the
Yeah.
day. That was my routine. I remember watching Mystery and Neil Strauss on these YouTube
Hmm.
channels and stuff, and they tell you what the perfect line would be to go out there and say to a girl and stuff, and like but then like I said, I at times when it would work, but times would backfire. But when it would work, though, like, I would not be able to go beyond that. And I think we talked about
Hmm.
that before, because, like, okay, cool, I saw this perfect move, but instead of taking time to kind of analyze me and look inside of me,
Hmm.
I just went to some source that I found on YouTube and books and stuff, and went out there and did that because I thought that would be like the one thing that would just fix everything. And
Hmm.
when really it wasn't. Like, really, the thing was just, for me, was going out there, taking action, kind of learning from experience. I think experience is key in
Hmm.
understanding who you are and getting ahead in life. And I think a lot of us kind of we forget about that we have to go out there and take action. We have to deal with the failures and stuff that we come up are on our path in life. Or some people just they don't want to do the work.
Mhm. Yeah, like you said, it's a Band-Aid solution when you just say the perfect pickup line, or you did this exact move that this guy did on YouTube or something. It's a short-term thing, and it's not gonna net you the best results in the long run because you're not being your authentic self. And I think that was kinda one of the biggest things that prevents guys from doing that, is because that process of finding out who you are, of, working on yourself and taking risks, putting yourself out there, it's painful. It's not always a pleasant experience. You're gonna find out a lot about yourself that, maybe some things you didn't like, and some things you feel like you're gonna expose a lot of your weaknesses. And it's not always a fun time. It's not always the most comfortable place to be. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of guys don't do it, is because they say, well, I don't want to feel that discomfort. I want to be, I don't want to feel bad about myself. I don't want to expose the things that I'm not good at. And they just don't
Right,
take
and
the
that's why we
action.
put on a mask and like kind of look
Exactly.
to other external things, the media or whatever it is, and it
Hmm.
helps us create this mask. I mean,
Right.
I did a lot of that too, man, and like that was, I still do that from time to time these days, but like I said, I've been, but yeah, no, that's so true because like
Hmm.
you don't want to, you want to live up to other people's expectations, and like
Right.
they say, well, I think if someone will like when they see a movie or some shit like that, and they see someone cool, or they look to the media, and then they're like, okay, I got to be like this person in order
Hmm.
to, be impress other people in real life. And then
Yeah.
when really that's just like, you know, when they put on this front, people can read into that, or
Hmm.
like they just from there just get totally lost in who they are because they don't think they can do anything, act any other way, I should say.
Hmm. Yeah, and then at that point, like, you got to dig into it a little bit deeper and really ask yourself, okay, why do I want to say this pickup line, or why do I want to convey myself this way? And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's most of the time it's because you want to impress this person, or you want them to like you. And it's like, well, when you do it with that reason and that intention, it's always going to come off as needy. It could be the greatest pickup line in the world, but if you're doing it because you want this person to look at you differently, or you want them to feel like you're a confident guy, it's it's not going to be congruent, because you're just not. You're feeling like you need to say something for them, to like you, and it's going to come off as needy when you do that.
Right. Do you think too? So you know how they tell you like for guys who are trying, the old phrase "fake it until you make it."
Mhm.
Do you think that's a good mindset to have? Fake confidence until you make it. Because I
Mhm.
mean, if you fake it though, people can still kind of. If you won't be able to pass certain tests, like
Right.
or challenges when they arise, and not just with when you're talking to women, but when you're, maybe you're brag about like, oh, I'm a computer whiz expert and everything, and you should hire
Mhm.
me. Then you get hired, then you mess up at the job. I know a kid who did that. He totally like lied on his resume, and he actually
Jeez.
got fired a couple weeks later because like he just couldn't live up to the task that was expected of him.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think you kinda answered it right there. Like, if fake it till you make it, if you do fake, having confidence, or you fake that you are this type of guy who's, really smooth, or whatever kind of guy you want to be or trying to fake, eventually people are going to find it out. And
Hmm.
eventually you're going to show your real self, and then people are going to be like, wait a minute, that's not who you were a week ago. Like, why are you being this way now? So I've never
Hmm.
really been a fan of that. Like, I've never really believed the whole fake it till you make it thing. I'm I'm much more a believer in doing it, failing, screwing up, but learning from it, and building it that way, because that's, at the end of the day, that's how you build real confidence. Like, it's not through just putting on some kind of mask or putting on an act. You do it through
Hmm.
messing up and figuring things out and really being like, all right, what do I do differently? That's how you build real confidence at the end of the day.
Hmm. No, right. No, I agree with you on that. I mean, if you're trying to, build like a change of mindset and everything, or try like something new out, and like when it comes to like your social life or your business stuff, like you just
Mhm.
gotta. do it and you're going to fail. Don't like think you're going to be the best at it. But I think the more
Right.
you actually do it, the more you and then you fail and you get the experience. Like it becomes more congruent. So you kind of, I guess,
Mhm.
like I don't know, it kind of sounds like you kind of got to fake it till you make it. But we're looking at it a different way though, like just going out there and doing the action. Because I think
Yeah.
like if you yeah you're gonna you can't just like 100% like psych yourself up, be like I gotta be confident, man, go out
Mhm.
there. That's fake until you make it, but like I
Right.
guess you got to have a little bit of that attitude, and then just when you go into the whatever it is you're going to do, yeah, and then you see that it works, you get the confidence from that and it grows and it
Mhm.
becomes more authentic.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you bring up a good point. Like you're not you have to go into it with some type of confidence that you're going to do well. It's like putting your best foot forward and kind of like showing up in the best way that you can at the time. It's not I think the difference is like when it's it's more or less being cocky. Like you think, "Oh yeah, I got this in the bag. I got no problems doing this. I'm this kind of like, oh yeah, I'll handle it this way and whatever, whatever." But when it comes down to it, you can't back it up. And I think that's
Right,
the
no, I
biggest
got you,
difference
yeah.
is like when you have that real confidence, you don't have to try to, compensate or over exaggerate things because you know what you can do. So yeah, you have to I mean, even if you don't have experience going into it, just feel good about trying it and like going out and just getting out of your comfort zone.
Hmm. Right. No, and like we're all like you always we talked about this before, like, just actually going out of your comfort zone to go do
Hmm.
take an action in your life. It's gonna uh make you more confident. And like
Right.
this comes down to this whole thing we're talking about now. When you get the brainwashed by the media and stuff, you gotta take the action to kind of break out of your comfort zone to like become who you really are instead of someone you're not.
Hmm. Yeah. Like I saw this quote somewhere that really I think like demonstrates what personal development is like to a T, I think. It's like a lot of the times personal development isn't just becoming your best version, and learning and growing and everything. A lot of it is unlearning some of the shit that you were conditioned, that growing up this is what
Hmm.
we were taught. It's like undoing a lot of the BS that was, placed on us from birth. Um and that's a part you really can't skip. You have to like almost unlearn the things that we were shown in that way, and then put a new foundation on top of it, and then kind of move forward from there. But
Yeah, and that's a
yeah,
process. It's not an overnight
it
thing.
is.
Like you're like, yeah, I've learned like when you start to unlearn things, like you said, you make mistakes, but then you see the changes as you go out there and take the action.
Right.
Then sometimes you fall back into those old ways of thinking,
Mhm.
because you've been conditioned, that way for a while.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like a smoker, right? Like if you've been chain smoking like 2 packs a day for your entire life, it's kind of unrealistic to think that you're going to go from that to the next day not even smoking at all. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just really, really hard to do. So like it is a process. You got to wean your way out of that stuff and, putting new habits in place, developing new mindsets, new ways of being. It takes time. It all takes time. But I think the process itself, when you start to enjoy that and you start to make it like fun, you start to see yourself improving, you start to see small wins kind of building up on top of each other, eventually the payoff is going to be well worth it.
Hmm. Right, that's true, and that's important to like kind of be aware of the wins that you've had in your on your journey because that's going to
Mhm.
really help you realize that you can make a difference. And I think a lot of people like I've gotten even when I've had wins and you're still pushing forward towards something and you still get that failure, you forget about the wins, and you got to
Mhm.
and it's something you always got to kind of look back to kind of push you to go forward because I mean that's really going to show that you've had some successes in your life when you fall on your ass.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's all about creating those, like we were saying earlier, just creating those reference experiences in your mind to say, okay, well, a month ago I did this. now I'm doing this and it's working. So clearly I'm improving. Or like I didn't go to the gym at all last week, but now I'm going 2, 3 times a week. Hey, that's an improvement. I'm doing better. So like it's just kind of taking stock of those and auditing that stuff, every once in a while because
Mhm.
like you said, it is easy to forget and it's easy to kind of brush it under the rug and think, oh, well, I didn't do much. When you look back and it's like, actually, I did all this stuff, but I just didn't acknowledge it.
Right. No, it's true, man. Like, it's weird because I've done a lot, these
Hmm.
with changing in my life this past couple of years, and I sometimes forget that, But then when I go
Yeah.
back and look at it, I'm like, okay, wow, I did it. I kicked ass,
Yeah.
and I'm still kicking ass. I guess it's
Yeah.
because like when I do create goals for myself, I set higher expectations when it comes to my goals rather than simple stuff.
Hmm.
You know, and you got to do that to grow as an individual to accept,
Right.
kind of have higher goals rather than the simple goals because like doing the simple stuff can get boring all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Tony Robbins said that, or somebody said that in some life coach said that when like you need to set goals that are exciting and like challenging enough, but not too challenging to where you're like, oh my God, this is impossible. There's no way I could ever do that. Like setting tangible goals that are almost at like a mid-level difficulty, like enough to get you going, but not too high to where you're like, fuck this, like I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, right. No, that's true. Yeah, you don't want to like. I guess you can do those higher goals, but you want to work your way up to that because,
Right.
like if you have like some bigger goals and you're not prepared for that, like
Hmm.
you're gonna get really frustrated and be like, oh fuck this, I'm giving up on all this, I'm done.
Hmm.
But a lot of it, like, just takes time and experience. And then once you kind of get that and you're bored with like setting smaller goals, you can work up, towards bigger goals. And I don't know, I just like to do it because like I'm all about like just constantly growing and stuff. Like I don't want to be in
Hmm.
one place.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that I think that's the best way to be is always kind of progressing and pushing yourself to grow and become better because like, you know, I feel like if we're not doing that, then we're basically being stagnant. We're kind of like bored with ourselves eventually. Things that get complacent, you start to think like, oh, well, I got nothing else to learn. I got nothing else to do. And that's just as a guy, like when we don't have things that we're working on to like physically see improvement in or just do things like that, we get bored really easily. And usually we end up doing things that, are not beneficial to us, like eating junk food or watching pornography or doing things that are like getting in the way.
Mhm.
Um, so it's good to fill that time with positive things.
Right. But you mentioned something too that made me think now I can add another thing to this topic that we're
Yeah.
talking about, pornography.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
do you think that that can be like a hindrance to, like a brainwashing type of thing, because guys think they got to have a big package or
Hmm.
they think they got to like have wild, crazy sex like they're seeing on the videos. I mean,
Hmm.
I think that could also kind of influence them as well and keep them for like developing, in that particular area of their life.
Hmm. Oh yeah, most definitely. Porn can be a very dangerous thing for guys. You look at a dude in porn, you're like, wow, I mean, I can't ever compare to this dude. He's like hung like a walrus and I'm like over
Mhm.
here, as a normal guy. Like it's hard to really like see that and then think, okay, I can be confident in the bedroom in myself and then be like, I'm not close to this guy. Or even
Mhm.
just like I think the way that porn is set up, at least a lot of the mainstream stuff, like it it shows just a lot of it's very like negative and it kind of puts women in a very interesting light. Like it kind of paints them to be these like basically sex objects and like you kind of just treat them a certain way and it's very if you look at the sex in like a very practical, objective way, a lot of the sex in porn is very one-sided. I mean, the dude's just like jackhammering some girl, right? And just going like
Right.
super hard. And in reality, like that's not always the best thing to do. Like some girls like it slower, some girls like, being touched in certain areas. Like every girl's different. So thinking that every porn is gonna be like that's how real sex looks, can be damaging because when you're actually with a real woman and she doesn't want some of that aggressiveness, maybe she wants you to, do something different.
Hmm.
You got to be aware of that and you got to understand that.
Right. No. But I tend to like meet a lot of women who are into the aggressive stuff, which is, I don't know why.
Oh
Maybe it's just because, I'm opposite, like-minded people attract other like-minded
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Like I met some girl like on an app and she wanted me to choke her.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, well, that was new to me, but like I don't know.
Mhm.
I'd have to say though, like, my, not to go too much off topic, but my experience ever since I've been out here with women has broadened away from just
Mhm.
like the normal missionary stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not saying that women don't like the kinky stuff and they don't like
Hmm.
to be choked, spanked, whatever. Because I mean, in my experience, girls like it when, you as a man are dominant and kinda, like, show them
Right. Yep.
what to
That's right,
do.
man.
Like, they just respond really, really well to that stuff, especially if she's a feminine girl, which she most likely is, she's gonna always respond to you just being dominant in the bedroom, being confident, knowing what you're
Hmm.
going like, just going for it. Um, so that stuff is good, but I think in porn, it's like it doesn't show the whole picture of what sex really is. Because in my opinion,
Right,
like
right. No, yeah,
yeah,
I got you on that. Correct. I know what you're saying because there's like, I think it doesn't, like in real life, there's a lot of stuff that has to lead up to that. But in porn, it's
right.
just like you turn it on and
Yeah,
automatically they're getting rowdy in the bedroom and stuff like
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's really no plot, or like even like they do have plots, but even the plots
yeah.
are kind of like not realistic.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and that's, like, the point I was making. It skips all the other stuff, and, like, that's really how women get turned on in the first place. Like, for them, it's very psychological, and if you build it up the whole day and, like, kinda be teasing her, maybe texting her some, like, funny little like, pictures or texts or whatever, getting her amped up the whole day, and that foreplay really starts before you even get to the bedroom, like, just kinda, like, making the whole experience of the date,
A
taking
build
her
up,
out,
yeah. No,
all that, the
I agree
buildup,
with you.
that's what works.
No, I agree with you. No, that's true, man. Like, there's like a buildup, and like I don't think in
Yeah,
porn it's just more, the buildup is more physical. Where in real life it's a mental. It mostly starts mental, with just the flirting and stuff back and forth.
mhm,
But yeah, I think like some guys might just also because they see that they maybe lack experience on how to build that up. They
mhm.
just think, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna do it,
Yeah,
just like.
yep,
Um, and I think too, like, a lot of guys, I know that can cause like performance issues in guys because when they
yeah,
see these guys lasting for 20 minutes and they don't understand that there's a lot of cuts and everything,
yeah,
like in the when they do these things, that they'd be like, oh man, they got to live up to that. Otherwise, a girl, like, she's
mhm,
not going to be able to please a girl.
right.
So,
Yeah, and,
and
like, that just shows you why porn is really most of it's made for men because it's very instantaneous, like, for dudes, it doesn't take us a lot of time to get turned on, like, we're like a light switch. It's like,
yeah, I
"Boom,
know you
I'm
see
ready to
something
go,"
visual, you're like,
you know?
hell yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's all it takes. It takes that one little quick visual stimulus. We're like, "All right, I'm ready." But for women, it's different. Like where they're like an oven. You got to preheat it, wait till the temperature rises, and then eventually you put the food in. So like it's about working, building your way up with them. So
Yeah, it's more of like,
yeah,
she likes to have emotions and like
yeah,
build her emotions up towards that.
hmm
Where I don't really think you'd see that in an adult movie and stuff.
not much.
So I mean, we're not saying, guys, we're not saying like porn is super bad, but we're just saying how like some of the things could keep you from having like just give you a false perception of things,
hmm
how things should be.
Right.
And it like and like, I don't know, sometimes too people can get so into that that they don't even care to like go find another woman. I think like
Yeah.
they can just be turned on and get that satisfaction through watching porn.
Mhm.
They're not going to take the time to go out there and meet people and like and then I'm not saying I'm not doing protesting no fap or whatever. I'm just saying like some guys just have that problem where they get so sucked into that that's all they care to do, and that's
Yeah.
another way that can like throw you off your path as a guy. So you got to have that awareness that I mean, if, hey, this is keeping you from having a real life like sex life. Maybe you got to do something.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And that's a great point. Like any any addiction like that like keeps you from being your best self, or it keeps you from like going out and being social in real life, you got to address that, and you got to understand sometimes that that can be a damaging place. And like you said, I've done that before too. Like I've been really, really like just horny and like amped up one night, and
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm just gonna take the easy route and kind of watch porn here and just whatever, instead of going out and meeting real women. That's the easy route. And it just makes you feel a quick little short term pleasure, but it can prevent you from going and putting yourself out there in real life, because
Hmm.
it's just so convenient.
Right. No, that's true. Yeah. No, I agree, and that's why I mean, if you're watching porn and going out there talking to them, okay, no problem. But if you're
Hmm.
letting that, hinder you from going out there and doing it, maybe you got to think to yourself, well, hey, I got it. This is becoming a distraction in my life.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to just have that awareness. 'Cause, like, it could, like, I don't know, that would be, I don't know, if that were my entire sex life, I think I would be very sad.
Mm.
Just like
Yeah.
doing the porn.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not to mention what that could do, like, to your self-esteem and just like the way that you think about yourself. It's like, man, most of my sex life has been from watching porn, and that can mess you up mentally because you're like, man, I don't even have experience. It's mostly from videos, and like
Hmm.
it causes, like you were saying, like it causes performance problems because guys start to condition themselves like, oh, I can only get hard when I watch a video. Like a girl in real life doesn't do it for me anymore, and that's a whole other set of problems that can.
Right. Yeah. Right, that's true. Well, is there anything you wanna, say before we, wrap up here?
Whew,
I'm so deep. It's like deep breath time,
I
man.
know, man. We covered a lot again, as
Yeah,
usual.
it always goes this way. I already got a few ideas for, like, another show.
I seriously, honestly. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess just to close out, like, kind of just to wrap up what we were saying. Learn that not every type of media and not every type of content you consume is helpful. There is some stuff out there that makes you feel worse about yourself. There is some content out there that is genuinely negative and can keep you in a negative headspace. And be aware of what you're consuming. Is the things you're watching, the things you're listening to, are they helping you on your journey? Are they making you a better person? Are they making you a better man? Or are they making you an angrier person? Are they making you more resentful and callous? So just be aware of the things that you are consuming, because they do have a big influence in your life.
Well said, I like that. Now I'll have to add to that, like, yeah, guys, like, you want to, like you said, be aware of what you're consuming. Like, do not imitate what you see, especially on movies, and put that in real life. I've made plenty of mistakes there
Mhm.
so don't do that.
Mhm.
But you want to when you're whether it is you're working on yourself or watching other content, the whole point is that you want to take the time to get to know who you are as a
Yeah.
person and break it so that and then also have that awareness to know when it's to like break away from or to ignore something that you heard like on the screen or on a
Mhm.
YouTube channel. Know what you need to like keep in your mind that's going to help you move forward and filter out all the other garbage. And when you go out there and you try like to be someone you're not because you're imitating something in the media or they said you got to have like these shoes, you got to have this attitude, you got to have that look, realize it all in the end. It's all fake, and it's all these advertising companies that say all that stuff that sell you like on their products and stuff like that. Get you addicted to certain things like movies. They remember it's just a fairy tale that someone created, and so don't buy into that. Realize, have that awareness. Don't let the media consume you, and just learn to develop your own authentic self, because in the end authenticity always rules over fakeness. Thought that was
Exactly
like an
right.
epic quote.
I like it. I'll put it on a T-shirt or something for us.
Yeah, right there. There you go. So, okay, great. And then where can they find you on Instagram and your work on YouTube and all that other fun stuff?
Yeah, Instagram, just my name. So Tino_Regano. You just type that up on Instagram. As far as YouTube, you could just search up The Sophisticated Man. That's my channel. That's my brand. And same thing for my website, thesophisticatedman.net, and you can find my stuff.
Well, rock on. That's very easy, guys. So you can remember that. And you guys can look into the conversation thread here. We got the links posted on there for his website,
Yep.
Instagram. Thanks, Bernie, here for moderating this show for a bit. So thank you, Bernie. And
Thanks, Bernie.
yeah, we'll be yeah, he's a cool guy. And yeah, guys, if be sure to like the video and share it with your friends if you liked it. I'm going to be doing another show this Thursday with King Dre, so you don't want to miss out on that. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. No, not Eastern time, but Pacific time, 9:30. I get all these times mixed up.
I know.
9:30, Eastern time. So definitely want to miss out on that, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications. And we will see you guys in a couple more weeks. So rock on, and